Ritu is an experienced technology leader. She's an experienced tech leader in fintech industry. She leads product delivery for one of the growing portfolios in merchant solution. Her core philosophy is transformation is centralized around people. We are waiting to hear you, Ritu. Over to you, and she'll be talking about Thrive with technical excellence. To know more about her, please visit her LinkedIn page. Ritu, you can take over from here.
Thank you so much, Dipti and Aditya as well. Good afternoon, ATA GTR, and I'm pretty happy and excited to be here consecutively for the third year. And today I shall be talking about a topic which is very close to my heart, thrive with technical excellence. Having technical excellence in any organization has never been as crucial as it is today, wherein we actually need to create a tech strategy that allows one not to only deal with it, but also to take the maximum advantage in this rapidly changing world wherein these when we are very much focusing on to simplification and modernization. Let me just share my screen. Give me a second. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Not yet. Yeah, now we can see.
Perfect. So, though Dipti talked about me, I still usually keep a slide that introduces me. Pretty much happy-go-lucky woman, wife to a supportive partner, mother to two teens, and a technology enthusiast. I love to help out business partners, people in solving their problems, and conversing with people. I started my career as a QA engineer, worked in various capacities over the past 18 years, and currently I am working as an associate director with FIS Global and into the product delivery role. I have been also actively enthusiast and contributing to various platforms. As I said, that I pretty much love talking to people. In my past role, I was heading the testing COE for test automation and specialized testing with Pfizer. I very much believe in learning as an important persona to help you grow. That's pretty much about me. And in case if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or maybe in person as and when we start moving out and want to connect about technology, career, leadership, fitness, spirituality. I absolutely, love to talk to people. And since this session is post lunch, though Soumya has kept a very amazing and interactive session to keep us awake, I thought, I just made a twist and I thought before I put my point forward, let me talk about a story or maybe a situation in which I was in once upon a time. So we were working for a retail giant to implement their internal financial calculation system. You know, the team comprised of financial analysts, developers, QAs, DBAs, product owners, project managers. And the ask was, you all would have experienced this. The ask was pretty much straightforward to automate their internal financial calculation system to a more robust, scalable, software-based solution since they were expanding across the globe. And of course, it was a multi-million dollar deal, and the team had been excitedly working onto the implementation. Gradually, once they implemented the happy path and they actually started with the testing phase, the team started encountering tricky performance bottleneck issues. Okay, the team has been very enthusiastic, very knowledgeable. So what possibly went wrong? On digging a bit, we found the entire team, was not much connected. So we had hired industry experts and all, but internally they were not much connected. And the entire team has never spoken to the product people. It was basically a handful of analysts that were working with product folks, passed the requirements to the technical team, and the technical team was kind of forbidden, I should say, to speak directly with the client product people. They usually, used to talk to the product managers, who in turn were managing few product owners. And while passing the requirements, these analysts or the product owners with a cognitive biased mindset focused onto the presently implemented Excel-based system, and they passed all the requirements based onto the currently Excel-based systems to the technical team to recreate the Excel-based system. And though sprint by sprint they had been delivering the minimum viable product, however, not actually focusing onto the core technical areas or the design created these performance bottleneck issues. And this not only delayed the schedule, increased the cost, but we could sense the increased frustration among the teams. A very common scenario, right? I believe that most of you would have either heard of it or would have come across this scenario. How it could have been better. Now, this definitely means different things to different roles. Investing time in design could have avoided the mishap if we talk to the technical teams. If we would have, like, if I look at the outsider, involving technical teams in product discussion workshops could have given different insights. Shall the analysts have been rational in decision making and understood the tech implementations at high level? Probably they would have been in a better situation to provide an early feedback to the technical teams. Or if I put it up in very simple words, everyone in the team should have been working to uncover the better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Technology is changing rapidly, and so are the business applications, the mode of working, the different ways we are working for. And typically, you will realize that businesses don't care about, what fancy features or technology you are using, whether you are doing it via agile way, Scrum or Kanban, or you are following the lean SDLC methodologies or the microservices approach. It doesn't bother much to them. The expectations from business is very straightforward. Their problem to be understood and solved. Focus on understanding the problem and help them with the solution. So basically, who are the people who deliver these business expectations? We who are kind of, tech experts. We know the technology stuff. We have experienced folks. We are the one who build elegant systems. We manage the customer projects. We basically form a great team. If I talk about my example as well, the team was really great. And what makes a great team? People, us, the knowledge, common purpose, trust, technical experts, subject matter experts, technical excellence. But is something that always comes in between. Still we see mishaps. I have picked up a few pictures from Google. You would have definitely seen these examples, and we keep on seeing these mishaps, and we at times, we have seen the examples that what the customer or the business needed was completely different or partially different from what was delivered. So we keep on seeing all these scenarios. Now, we being the technology experts, we being the functional experts, and still, we see mishaps as well. So basically, where are the gaps? So when we try to identify the gaps, we revisited the Agile Manifesto as well. one of the 12th principle that says continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. The key here to me is continuous attention, focus, focus, and focus. With shorter iterations and frequent delivery, it is important to focus on sustaining the delivered features and maintaining the technical hygiene. And everybody these days, when working in agile or the continuous delivery, keeps talking about cycle time, reduce the cycle time, make it pretty fast. Why? Because we want early information. In the example also that we spoke about, Shelby would have known earlier that we might be getting the performance bottlenecks. We would have surely done something differently. We definitely want to see early if we are onto the right path or not. That is what our why is. We keep on always try to digging how to get it early, and that's what we want in highly efficient technical organizations. And what does a good technical organization look from outside? It is basically an organization that can give you a rapid cycle time. It allows you, to take your ideas quickly and put them into the production and see whether they are working. And then maybe do you want to pursue them or switch them off and do it a different way? And how we get to do this? First thing we get to do is create a culture of technical excellent organizations. Focus on continuous delivery and develop a learning mindset to have a scalable architecture in place. Trust me, I am talking about technical excellence. However, this is not only about technology. You would have seen this joke, or you would have experienced this as well. A lot of time, developers or QAs, the technical folks basically, tend to be very technology centric at times. So we need to pay more attention to the domain, the problem area first, to deal with what is it we are trying to fix. Technical excellence is much, much more than technology. What it is then? If we are saying it is much more than technology, what is it? It is basically uncovering the better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. How do we deliver the value fast? And you would have seen that great teams always talk and focus on value. The achievement of technical excellence, it completely relies on the business side of the organization, valuing the tech side of it, the software development side of it, and the software development, the tech side of the story, understanding the needs of the business. And a lot of organizations, we have seen that they separate organizations by area of specialty and focusing more onto the business line, or they have different horizontals and verticals. And we also have heard that there should not be any silos, and that's why we keep on recreating these horizontals or verticals. But if we are saying there are no silos, you might be living in a world of false optimism. Humans naturally have the tendency to go silos. We are social, but we do have the tendency to go silos, and our silos are our own comfort zone, our people. Okay, so we naturally, tend to form groups of like-minded people. And the question is, you really can't avoid silos. But what you can do is try and organize the silos in a way that they are most beneficial to the organization. A lack of business understanding on the dev or the QA side also comes when these people or the tech teams are not much into understanding the business or interacting with the business folks. So as a leader, we need to facilitate more of these direct interactions so that as and when needed, dev in QA also understand what is the problem that they are trying to solve. We as a leader need to bridge these two different mindsets and let the right kind of information flow, and it definitely requires a lot of direct communication. We could be doing it in form of constant meetings. What basically works for you, you have to figure out in your team's context. It could be sending out different sales win information to the wider audience, or sending out the technology and tech benefits to the business folks as well. It's basically there are different uh, good little ways of bringing out these two sides together. In my example also, okay, we saw that the problem was because the developers didn't understand fully, the dev QA, the tech folks basically didn't understand fully what is the need of the retail giant, what is the expectations over there. And when they started implementing, they were trying to recreate the Excel based system. However, the implementation team, could somebody please mute themselves?
Sure, can you, yeah.
Yes, Riti, you can continue.
Sure. So the implementation team, being the technology expert, and they had been leveraging the, best of whatever their analysis was. So they need to also understand the business ask and then map it to the tool or the technology stack. It is very important for them to reimagine, few of the areas to leverage the computing capabilities of the technologies that we are using. So instead of simply replicating the business requirements in terms of Excel driven calculation, we could have done things differently. And it is not only about the tech folks, our minds also play tricks with us. Cognitive bias also exists in our heads. And at times, the way I showed you the previous slide, okay, at times, they affect everything around us and we don't see things as they are, but basically we give more attention to certain requirements than others. And it could be like, I probably have to use this particular set of technology. And it depends on to our cognitive bias as well. And it is purely, unconsciously, it also happens into our minds. And this at times leads to a situation wherein the requirements communicated to the business and the way it is interpreted or maybe implemented by the technical teams, a lot of time it does not match. And the reason here is because this information has been flowing and filtered through multiple steps. Everybody might be having their own cognitive biases. So by the time things reaches the lower layer, like Chinese whisper, maybe the ask has been a bit different. So having technical excellence with both of these, actually everybody here means to have common and overlapping vocabulary across all of these teams that set up common grounds for the interpretation of requirements and helps reduce the impact of bias. That could be by the human minds or maybe the way we think. So it is always recommended to have representation of all the teams, at least some sort of representation or some sort of information flowing in the requirement workshops, or maybe it might not be always feasible, but at least there has to be some sort of common ground to have this understanding. And most importantly, technical excellence involves a cultural shift at the organization level as well. A lot of time we talk about, in the previous morning sessions and all, we spoke about Netflix culture, we talk about Google culture. Technical excellence also involves a cultural shift at the organization level. Do you remember a great team? Okay, leave IT or maybe leave software development aside, leave agile aside. Do you remember a great team? Or we all have been, a part of a great team at times. And what makes a team unique? It is the people, communication, trust, sharing the knowledge. What I have realized is a team is doing good if they have a common purpose, a common goal, trust, and most importantly, they are having fun while working on that particular goal. So, if on a broader concept, if I say technical excellence starts and ends with the culture. It evolves around the culture in which continuous improvement is the key, both in terms of your hardcore technical skills as well as soft skills like team collaboration, trust, ability to help and coach others. Now, culture is pretty much, an easy thing to talk about, but a lot of culture depends onto the business leaders who hire, train, promote, and reward employees. It determines, how successful it would be the culture of that particular organization. And then they do a lot of things as well to, maintain that culture as well. A culture of technology excellence doesn't just happen by itself. You have to be very thoughtfully, very carefully cultivate that culture. And championing technical excellence always requires that at people at different level, they understand things on common grounds. We be talking about, the project managers, the scrum masters, or the team members in general. They understand the product, the technology, and the skills of the people doing the work. And I am nowhere saying it here by technical excellence that you should know how to write the code. We are not going there. All that we trying to say here is, you know, uh, at times you may be in the role of a project manager or a team lead or as a scrum master, or maybe the different roles you are playing. You could be a decision maker or influencer that for sure will need a technical background, and you might be involved with the team. Okay, they have been working on to certain things, so you might be involved in debating or deciding on the technical approach, or maybe challenging the team for the business objectives, or maybe the technical issues that the team are worked upon. So it is always recommended to be at least that much knowledgeable so that you steer the interactions between the team members and make sure that the architectural or the platform constraints are fully understood by the team, and the team is keeping a track, or maybe uh, when you participate in those discussions, the team is also keeping you copied in those technical decisions. You know what things are happening. Most important thing that comes over here is continuous delivery. When we are talking about technical excellence organizations, the way we are to stay competent. Okay, we spoke about cycle time, reducing the cycle time. Okay, continuous delivery. Now, as a highly efficient technical organization, okay, that gives you a rapid cycle time. And how do you achieve that? You achieve that by continuously taking the ideas and quickly putting them into the production to see if they are working. So continuous delivery is all about the ability to build software in such a way that you are able to put up your current state of the software to the production. And the crucial thing here is, you know, uh, most important thing here is learning, keeping yourself up to date, at least what tech stack exists, And it is a whole bunch of things, behind, be it automatic deployment, or maybe good version control, or thorough test automation. But the fundamental fact is that you are always in the state of going to production. And all of these things like test automation and getting up to the automated deployment, in all of these pointers help you achieve that goal. And I know it is not easy, and takes a lot of effort to coordinate to reach up to this point. But trust me, it is hugely worth it. One of the major thing when we talk about continuous delivery and technical excellence, the most important thing that also comes to us is clean code. Everybody these days is talking about clean coding techniques. We all keep on talking about that. Okay, we talk about bad code as well. You know, tell me something. Why do teams write bad code? When I usually ask my teams, they say at times maybe it was time pressure, or maybe pretty much working hard, or maybe it was legacy code. Okay. Or and at times I in my product is also a legacy product that we are working upon, and at times writing a simple if else statement also may take 3-4 days or a week. So I hope you would have heard of a broken window theory. So broken window theory says if a window in a building or surrounding neighborhood is broken or is left unrepaired, in some time you will realize that rest of the windows in the same society or the building will soon also be broken. And the simple hypothesis that I'm trying to relate here is people write bad code because they read bad code. They don't know what good code is. So basically what we are supposedly be doing, for each desired change, make the change easy and then make the easy change. I'll tell you a trick. Okay, whenever you are learning to code or make your automation code from scratch, or refactor the existing code base these days in testing as well. At times we don't get to write the automation code from scratch. We are at times refactoring the old scripts. Okay, the most important skill that you can learn is not the ability to write the code quickly, but the ability to write code clearly. Because what may be the very important property of a code base is not how long it took to write, but how long it takes to write new things on top of it in the future, and build new scenarios on top of it to the existing scenarios, how long it takes to update them. Once the code is written, nobody will bother how long will it took you to write that. But every time, people are updating it, people will always be looking forward to how long does it take to update that. And the trick here is nobody writes the perfect code at first time. In fact, if you will see it in a demo or something also, people don't write it very perfect. And if you see them writing very perfect code for the first time, maybe they have rehearsed it. So usually people do write code to fix a problem. When you have fixed the problem, you are trying to just give a solution. Now, once you have given the solution, okay, write what problem you are trying to fix. Even in ensure that your code, once you have figured out the solution, ensure your code is trying to express your understanding of the business problem that you are trying to solve, so that later on at any point of time somebody on top of it is utilizing this and writing further scenarios. Things are pretty easy for them. Most of
Ritu,
the
sorry to
yes.
interrupt you. We have a couple of minutes left, so if we can wind up, we have a question to take.
Oh, I didn't realize. Maybe I will pretty much
That's okay.
make
For interrupting
yeah,
a lot.
give
Just a
me two.
Yeah.
Give 2 or 3 minutes so that
Yeah.
I'll be cognizant about it and I'll close it.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
So the point that I'm trying to say here is, most of the code focuses on what you are doing. It could be click this XPath or that. It doesn't talk about the business problem you are trying to solve or test. Why is most important part here. Focus onto the why. And maybe another thing that I would like to add here is not a big fan of technical debt, but just understand that a mess is never a technical debt. At times we keep on skipping certain things that we feel that we would be able to do it mathematically. If I say, okay, I mean, if I don't do this work of 8 hours or 10 hours, maybe across the next few days, if I'm able to do it half an hour and I'll wrap it up. No, technical debt is not like that. And we really need to focus on what makes sense as a part of design and what is giving us the flexibility. We need to adapt to that, take certain things on priority and do that. And the I'll be like purely towards the end. And the most important thing to achieve this culture of technical excellence is better be willing to facilitate and learn. As a leader, we need to facilitate the learning mindset, organize the different sort of trainings, maybe exchange different chapters or guilds or community of practices or maybe different forums so that people interact with each other and they are developing a common set of grounds wherein people can talk about different things. Why does it matter? Pretty much straightforward. Quality produces speed, quality, and that's why excellence matters. Why? Because speed to market is one of the key fundamental requirements of business organization these days, hence technical excellency matters. I actually had run through the last two slides and have come to the final slide of my deck, wherein I would like to conclude. All of these things that I shown in my presentation or my talk today. Okay, we all know most of these things. We really don't have knowledge as the problem. We know all of these things. At times, practice becomes our problem. We get so engaged in our work, we really need to uh, be thoughtful about it and revisit that technical excellence at different levels have its own value and the way it is important. We really need to practice what the different methodologies are telling it. Thank you so much, Dipti. With this, I conclude and I thanks the amazing audience as well. You have been really engaging. Open for Q&A.
Thank you, Ritu. Ritu, we have one question. Can I share it with you on chat and could you reply to it on chat just to have the next speaker on? Would that work for you?
Absolutely, it will work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ritu. That was a very, informative, engaging explanation about how to thrive on technology. We are very glad to have you here with us. I will post the question on the chat and probably you can reply to that there.
Sure. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.